He thought money would make him untouchable, and for a long time, it did. It bought him confidence. It bought him silence. It bought him the kind of smile people don't question because it's wrapped in success. And for 12 years, it bought him control over me because I confused provision with protection. The day I realized money wasn't his shield, it was his weakness, was the day the wire transfer hit my account and disappeared again within seconds, not hours, seconds. The notification popped up while I was standing in my kitchen in Westchester County, staring at the granite countertops he insisted we upgrade because image matters. The kitchen still smelled like lemon cleaner and expensive appliances. The kind of house that looks stable from the outside. Incoming wire. $240,000 from a corporate account I didn't recognize. And before I could even blink, another notification. Outgoing transfer, $240,000 to an entity labeled Arden Capital Holdings. I didn't authorize it. I didn't touch my phone. I just stood there, heart steady. Because shock doesn't always look like panic. Sometimes it looks like stillness while your brain races to catch up. My name is Natalie Carter. I was married to Andrew Carter, investment advisor, philanthropist, board member, donor to local campaigns. The kind of man who shook hands at galas and had people thank him for his generosity. The kind of man who believed wealth erased consequence. The legal and financial anchor of everything that followed landed within that first minute. Joint account. Dual authorization required. Except the second authorization was mine. Or at least it appeared to be. Because in the bank's eyes, 2 digital signatures cleared that wire. Andrew's and mine. Except I never approved it. I stared at my phone, then at the empty kitchen, then back at my phone, and I whispered the question that would define the next year of my life. What did you do? Andrew walked in 10 minutes later, perfectly timed, like he always was. Navy suit, polished shoes, calm expression. He set his keys down and kissed my cheek like we were still a team. You look pale, he said casually. I held up my phone. Why did $240,000 move through our account in under a minute? I asked. He didn't flinch. That's the thing about men like Andrew. They don't react to numbers. They react to power. And in that moment, he thought he still had it. Relax, he said smoothly. It's a bridge transaction. Bridge. He loved that word. Bridge between accounts. Bridge between opportunities. Bridge between quarters. Why is my authorization attached? I asked quietly. He sighed like I was being dramatic. Because you're on the account, he said. The bank requires 2 signatures. It's procedural. I didn't sign, I said. He tilted his head slightly. You must have approved it earlier, he replied. You get push notifications all the time. You probably tapped yes. Tapped yes. Like my attention was a formality. Like my consent was forgettable. I stared at him. I was at Pilates this morning, I said calmly, phone in my locker. Andrew's jaw tightened, just slightly. Then he smiled again. Then the system lagged, he said. Natalie, you don't understand how these structures work. There it was. You don't understand. He'd used that phrase for years. When I asked about offshore accounts. When I asked about shell LLCs. When I asked why our tax filings were always complex. I stepped closer to him. I understand enough, I said softly, to know I didn't authorize that wire. He looked at me for a long moment, then his tone shifted, not angry, colder. It's handled, he said. Handled. The word men use when they want you to stop thinking. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just nodded. because confusion is their oxygen, and I wasn't confused anymore. That night, after Andrew fell asleep, I changed my phone's password. Then I logged into our bank from my laptop. The wire was visible in transaction history, two-factor authentication record, device approval log, and there it was. Approval device, iPhone 14 Pro. That was my model. Location, Greenwich, Connecticut. I was in White Plains. I pulled my location history. I had proof, time-stamped class check-in, security camera at the studio. I didn't confront him again. I called a lawyer instead. Her name was Marissa Chen. Yes, the same Marissa who had built quiet walls for women like me before. When I told her about the wire, she didn't gasp. She didn't dramatize. She asked one question. Has he ever had access to your Apple ID? My stomach tightened. Yes, I whispered. Marissa nodded, as if she'd expected that. Then he doesn't need your phone, she said. He just needs your credentials. And that was escalation number 1. Not that money moved, that my identity moved with it. Over the next 2 weeks, small cracks began to widen. A letter from the IRS requesting clarification on foreign reporting discrepancies. A notification from our brokerage that a margin line had increased. A voicemail from a private banker asking to confirm consent. Every call ended with the same phrase. We just need to verify your approval. My approval. My signature. My compliance. Andrew wasn't just moving money. He was attaching me to it. When I confronted him again, this time in his home office with the glass walls he loved so much, I held up the IRS letter. Why is my name on foreign reporting forms I never signed? I asked. He leaned back in his leather chair, like he was reviewing a proposal. Because we're married, he said calmly. It's joint filing. Why is there a Cayman entity? I pressed. He exhaled slowly, irritation surfacing. Natalie, high net worth individuals use structures, he said. You benefit from it. Don't play naive. Benefit. He said it like a shield, like wealth erased ethics. I want full disclosure, I said. He laughed, a real laugh this time. You want full disclosure? He repeated. You wouldn't survive full disclosure. There it was. The threat wrapped in arrogance. He thought money made him untouchable. He thought I'd be too comfortable to question it. That night, I opened a separate bank account in my name only. I redirected my consulting income there. I froze my credit. I documented everything, because escalation wasn't loud. It was administrative. 3 weeks later, I received a call from my employer's compliance office. Not because I worked in finance, because Andrew had listed me as a consulting partner on a private placement memo. My name, attached to an offering I never saw. The compliance officer's voice was neutral. Mrs. Carter, she said, we need to confirm whether you are affiliated with Carter Strategic Ventures. I swallowed. No, I said. Well, she replied carefully, your signature appears on the subscription documents. My hands went cold. This wasn't just marital deception. This was securities fraud territory. I forwarded everything to Marissa. Her response was immediate. We escalate, she said. She filed for legal separation. She requested forensic accounting. She sent preservation letters to banks. And she warned me about something I hadn't fully understood yet. He will try to make you complicit, she said, because if you look involved, he looks protected. The escalation hit publicly next. Andrew hosted a fundraiser at our house. Politicians, donors, cameras. He toasted strong partnerships. He kissed my cheek in front of everyone like nothing was wrong. Money makes people believe what they want to believe. And Andrew believed the optics would outshine the audit trail. 2 days after the fundraiser, the audit notice arrived. Not from our bank, from the SEC. Subject: inquiry regarding unregistered offering. My knees went weak. I sat at the kitchen island and stared at the letter while the house felt too large. Andrew walked in later that evening, loosened his tie, and saw the envelope on the counter. His face didn't fall. It hardened. "You opened that?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. He exhaled sharply. "It's routine," he said. "They audit everyone. Routine. Another minimization." I held up the attachment. "They're asking for investor communications," I said quietly, "and confirmation of signatory authority." He looked at me carefully. Then he said the line that changed everything. "Don't answer anything without me," he said. Not, "Don't worry." Not, "I'll fix it." Don't answer, because silence was his shield. But silence would make me complicit. That was the moment I understood the twist building toward the 70% mark. Andrew wasn't just hiding money. He was using my name as insulation. Every wire, every subscription, every foreign disclosure, 2 signatures required, 2 identities attached. One of them, unaware. Marissa moved quickly. She filed a motion for exclusive financial control pending investigation. She notified the SEC that I was cooperating independently. She attached evidence that my location logs did not match signature timestamps. And then she did something smarter than confrontation. She requested the digital signature audit logs from the DocuSign vendor. When those logs came back, the room went silent. Signature authentication email. Created 3 days before the first foreign filing. Email address: natalie.carter.private@protonmail. I never created it. IP address: our home network. Device ID: Andrew's MacBook. He didn't just sign for me. He created a shadow identity for me. And he thought money would keep it buried. When I confronted him this time, I didn't raise my voice. I placed the audit logs on his desk. "Explain this," I said. He stared at the pages. For the first time, he didn't smile. "You went digging," he said quietly. "Yes," I replied. His jaw tightened. "You think you're clean?" he snapped. "You live in this house. You drive the car. You vacation on that money." There it was. The guilt tactic. Like benefiting from a lie makes you responsible for the lie. "I didn't authorize fraud," I said calmly. He stood up suddenly. "You don't even know what fraud is," he hissed. "This is structuring. This is leverage. This is how the world works." "No," I said softly. "This is forgery." He went still, and I saw it. Not fear of jail. Fear of exposure. Money doesn't protect you from documentation. It protects you from small accusations, but not from audit trails. The power reversal began quietly. The SEC subpoenaed device logs. Banks froze accounts pending review. Andrew's board seat was suspended temporarily. The Cayman entity was flagged. Investors started calling. Not me. Him. He tried to negotiate with me one last time. We sat at the dining table we bought in Italy. He looked tired for the first time in years. "If you cooperate," he said, "we can position this as a misunderstanding. You were involved. It was marital." There it was, again. Marital. Like marriage was a liability shield. I met his eyes. "I will testify," I said calmly, "that you forged my signature." His face drained of color. "You wouldn't," he whispered. "I will," I replied. Because this wasn't about money anymore. It was about identity. The final hearing didn't happen in family court. It happened in federal court. Andrew sat at the defense table in a suit that suddenly looked expensive instead of powerful. The prosecutor laid out the digital logs, the shadow email, the IP addresses, the device fingerprint, the cloned authentication, and then the wire transfers that loop through shell entities and returned as performance gains. When I testified, I kept my voice steady. I didn't dramatize. I didn't cry. I simply said, I did not authorize these transactions. And the logs supported me. The judge's voice was even. Mr. Carter, he said, wealth does not exempt you from compliance. Wealth does not exempt you. That sentence echoed louder than any accusation. Andrew's assets were frozen, restitution calculated, charges filed. He wasn't untouchable. He was documented. Months later, I sold the house. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. I moved into a smaller place closer to the city. My name was clean. My accounts were separate. My identity was mine again. Andrew sent one last message through his attorney. She overreacted, it read. This could have been resolved privately. Privately. That's how men like him survive. In quiet corners, without audit, without sunlight. But the audit changed everything. It didn't just expose wires, it exposed arrogance. The belief that money buys immunity. The belief that a wife is a signature. The belief that silence equals loyalty. And if there's a lesson in what happened to me, it's this. Money doesn't make you untouchable. It makes you traceable. Because the more you move, the more you log, the more you sign, the more you timestamp, the more you hide, the more you leave behind. Andrew thought wealth made him immune. It made him visible. And I learned something in the process. You don't beat men like that with emotion. You beat them with documentation, with calm, with refusing to carry guilt that was never yours. He thought money would make him untouchable. But it was the very thing that proved he wasn't.